Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Beruchim Aba'im to everybody. Today, Wednesday, the first day of Adar Aleph, second day of Rosh Hashanah. To his future wife, Miss Lital Gelman. Today's class graciously sponsored by the Gersuni brothers and wives. Iratzon that Kevin and Lital built a beautiful home among Am Israel this coming Sunday. B'sha'a tova muslachat. Amen. Before we begin with the class of today, I'm very and Be'ezat Hashem, any day now, demolition will be starting of the waterfront terrace. That means that the area will be off limit for a while. And Be'ezat Hashem, we hope and pray that the project will bring only great beracha and aslaha. It took us over 2.5 years to get the final permit. You can blame COVID and many other matters, but Baruch Hashem, we got it last night. Rosh Chodesh Adar. That's a siman tov for everybody. With that being said, let's learn a few minutes, Rabotai. I know that it's later than usual, but today I must say, you had a dream team of Hazanim. I heard it from above, not from Shamayim, from the second floor office. Okay, I didn't go anywhere, okay? And listen to the beautiful melodic prayer of the wonderful Hazanim that you have. Interesting enough, both of them are Hazanim from Argentina. Yes. Both of them are from Argentina, like your humble speaker here also, and many good things coming from Argentina, Baruch Hashem. So, thank you. Yeah, Argentina needs a refuah shelema, put it this way. There is a lot of things going on politically, financially, and we hope and pray that things will stabilize for the well-being of our brethren in a beautiful country that has a magnificent community, plenty of Torah, plenty of synagogues, kolelim, yeshivot. So, B'ezrat Hashem, good things will be coming. Let's discuss today an interesting topic, the topic of Ain Hara. Ain Hara. Although I'm not too knowledgeable of this topic, but I know what the Gemara says. The Gemara writes in Masechet Baba Mesi'ah, just for the audience, what's the meaning of Ain Hara? Evil eye. In Spanish they call it el mal de ojo. El mal del ojo. The evil part of the eye. So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot writes that a Yehudi needs to have Ain Tova, a positive eye. The eye has the power to build, or the eye has the power to destroy. That's why in Torah ideals there is a concept called, which is not the main topic of today, Shemirat Ha'inaim, that a person protects their eyes. What does it mean? They always try to look at things, not only, and I'm not talking Shovavim time now. Beautiful breakfast, delicious. Ain Ra'a, no shakshuka today, no sambusa, no ma'amul. I don't see signs on the table today. If you want sambusa, shakshuka, and ma'amul, we'll take care of you. Rabbi Yosef, it's a good breakfast, enjoyable breakfast, delicious breakfast. Baruch Hashem, that's the difference, Ain Tova and Ain Ra. The Gemara brings a scenario concerning a person owning a piece of land next to this town. In the olden days, things were much different than the way things are today. Today, people live usually in an apartment, at least in this part of town. Simple. Because anyone that comes in and out of the city is going to see your land. Automatically, what they're going to say? Oh, this belongs to Moshe. Oh, Moshe, how was the season? I see the harvesting. It was a bountiful season. Maybe you give me a donation. Example, right? And that's what it says here. It says, שאנשים שבעיר רואים אותה תמיד, בעין של בני אדם שולטת בה. Says the eye attracts. The eye, like it or not, attracts. That's why there is another Gemara that says, אין הברכה מסויה, אלא בדבר הסמוי מן העין. In English this means, no blessing can be found unless something is hidden from the eye. What does it mean? The less you talk about it in a public setting, the better it is. In other words, you don't have to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to build this, and I'm going to invest this, and I'm going to get this return. The more you talk, most likely the beracha diminishes. That's why we learned in the past that talks about don't activate nothing. Just be thankful. Don't count the money every 2 minutes. The opposite. And the Gemara tells us about Iyov. One of the secrets of Iyov that was successful financially was Shehaya Vatran Bemamono. When it came to money matters, he would want to attract the ain on the person. The Tosafot writes, I don't remember in which Gemara, that it says that many times the person themselves attracts ain hara to themselves. By the way they talk, by the way they act, by the way they express themselves, or even by the way they live, they become a target. And I mean the target, I mean the ain hara. I'm not talking about Hazve Shalom, a different type of target. Talking about that a person, blend in, try to blend in is better. So the Gemara asks an interesting question. You just told me, Rabbi, that I should not have a piece of land next to the city to avoid ain hara. But then we found another Gemara that says the following. There is a pasuk in Perasha Kitabo, I believe, which has a lot of berachot, that says, Baruch atah ba'ir, Baruch atah basadeh. What is the meaning of this verse? If you read Veitel lecha on Mosai Shabbat, you're going to see it. Baruch atah bebo'echa, Baruch atah besetecha. Let's translate this verse. Blessed you be in your city, blessed you be in your field. Blessed you be upon your arrival, and blessed you shall be upon your departure. So the Gemara explains what is the meaning of this verse. Baruch atah ba'ir, may you be blessed in the city. Listen to this beautiful Gemara. Sheyebetecha samuch labet hakneset. Rule number 1, the Gemara says, find the knis 2nd Street, yes, 15, 20 minutes. But if it's Kane 163rd Street, we need to find a different shul. No, but he's on Biscayne. I said, yeah, but we're on 192nd or 163rd. Or sometimes people want to purchase an apartment. And I asked them, out of curiosity, what floor is the apartment? Oh, I got a beautiful floor. 26. Yani, they gives me the rashot. Yani, yotke, vavke. Self, to be separated from your family, from your children, obviously, from your synagogue. And you know that in the olden days, being a traveling salesperson, it was something very, very, very common. I understand that. But nevertheless, the Gemara says, and we say this, by the way, in the Birkat Hamazon. You know, in the Birkat Hamazon, there is something called Birkat HaOreach. So what do we say in the Birkat? It happened to you?
It's a fact.
All the time. You need to rest from the vacation. Yani. And if you come from Israel or Europe and you travel a lot of hours, then you cannot sleep for a few days because your body is changed, etc. Now, Baruch atah beboecha, blessed you be upon your arrival, shelo timsa ishtecha safek nida. Husband and wife were separated because of business. He traveled to see a customer. He went on a week-long trip or 2 week long. Now he's coming back home. He wants to hug his wife physically. And the wife says, no, I may be nida. So unfortunately, we need to keep the separation. Number one. Number two, and it says, Baruch atah besetecha, blessed you be upon your departure, sheyehe se'esa'e me'echa kemotcha, may your children grow in the ways of Torah, in the way of success, and in the way of livelihood as well. Now, the Gemara goes further. Hold on a minute. We have, says Rabbi Yochanan, a different version of the meaning. I don't want to gives you the money to be able to pay the lease. Since you start your day going to the synagogue, you're saying, Hashem, I'm leasing the car for you. Okay? Could be a good answer to that. But in a more serious note, but the person also, Shlomo HaMelech writes, Hacham Einav Berosho. You cannot say, Rabbi, I have an idea. I'm going to walk 100,000 steps to come to the synagogue. How much in distance is that amount? I have no idea.
20 miles. Third of a mile.
How much?
20 miles.
No. Forget about it.
1,500
steps to a mile.
1,500 steps to a mile. So I'm gonna be mild. Let's say 5,000 steps. That would be 3 miles, right? Yeah. A person says, you know what? I'm gonna walk 3 miles. Sechat Pesiyah. Can you imagine for every step 1 mitzvah? So I did 5,000 mitzvot coming to shul, those 5,000 mitzvot going back home, because the mitzvot are back and forth.
Okay.
So the Gemara's opinion is, and the halacha is, don't do it. Why? Because even though you may have 5,000 mitzvot just walking, but what happens if it's raining, or if it's cloudy, or if it's a bit hot, or humid, or too cold? Really? For many reasons. No, but I'm going to rent the hall. Yeah, and he wants to do it beautiful. I said, listen, I wish that they let you. So he says, okay, I'll let you know what happened. So he went, he asked them, they said, we love the Jewish people, but we cannot have an assembly for prayers every weekend the way you want. Because once we do it for you, we have to do it for a lot of people. I said, go to the Safra Synagogue. That's the first thing they told him. They said, go to the Safra Synagogue. He says, I know the rabbi. The lady says, I know her because she called me up with a question about the Eruv a few years back. And she seems to be in the board still of the building. And she said, go to the Safra Synagogue. So the fellow came and he says, Rabbi, thank you. I did not sign the lease. He was going to sign a lease to rent an apartment in that building. And I said to him, listen, don't try, because even though you may say freedom of religion, we pay the price. You have to understand this. When a Yehudi wants to go from the back or behind the door, I'm not going to say nothing. I'll tip the security guard $20. Heck, that's what they tell me. I said, you're ruining it for all of us. Why? Isn't it in a few blocks is not only halachot or debate among the great sages or eternal messages of life. Certain areas of Talmud talks about also financial investment. In the world of financial investment, there is a concept called to diversify. That basically means in English, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay? That financial mindset, it actually comes from the Gemara of today. And I'm going to read it in Hebrew so you can appreciate the original source of the Gemara. It says, Sheyu nechasecha meshullashim. Divide your assets in thirds. Shelish betevua, a third in grain. Shelish bezetim, a third in olive trees. Ushlish bagefanim. Super busy. Pesach, super busy. After Pesach, all the businesses go down. So how they survive payroll, rental, supplies, etc., whatever extra dividends they have or benefits they have through the winter season. So another Gemara explains that the Gemara explains the same way when a person is born, okay, the neshama finally enters the body and the child is born. So when the child is born, does he carry any averot with him? Zero. Zero. A baby doesn't have averot. He says, don't purchase a piece of land at the entrance of the city, so people will not look at it in and out, in and out, in and out. The Gemara explains that when this fear of Ain Hara exists, it says, "Demihader leshuka beritka." It means that when you put a fence around your property and no one is able to look into it, so you mitigate it already. What are people, what they're going to see? What they're going to look at?
Fence.
A fence. So the Ain Hara is not activated. Sometimes you walk on the street and you see very fancy cars parked at the front. And more than once, people ask, who lives in that house? So what difference does it make who lives in their house? No, I see the nice car he has, or she has, whatever. So that's what the Gemara says. Protect the eye of an outsider. And like this goes in the dress code of the person, in the living of the person, even in the driving of the person. The Gemara writes, another pasuk, I believe, Be'esir Hashem imecha kol holi. May Hashem remove from you all illness. But holy, why didn't the Torah say mahala? Mahala is a global name for illnesses. But the Torah says holy, a single illness. Which is this? She'Hashem yasir mimecha zo ha'ain. She'ha'ain ra'a she'adam notem ba'avero goremet lekol ha'ola. From professional experience, that once someone asked me to ask a great rabbi a specific question, and the rabbi is legitimate and ne'eman, and it says, this person, his success is his worst enemy. Because everybody talks about him, and everybody looks at him, and everybody expects from him. Ain Hara. So the Gemara goes further, and it says, where Rav understands, and it says, where Rav understands that the Ain Hara is really the culprit. We understand Ain Hara to a certain extent, and that's why in the Birkot HaShahar what do we say? שתסילני היום ובכל יום ביום, right? In the right here, look. The greatest sages of the Talmud, and he had special spiritual powers. And Rashi explains, Yodea haya lilhosh ala kevarot. He knew how to communicate with the dead bodies and ask them, Be'eze mitamet, how did you leave the world? Imet bizmano עולם על ידי חולאים שונים. So, one more. The Pasuk says, that was Rav's opinion. Comes Shmuel, is Habruta. Rav and Shmuel were one of the most famous tag teams of the Talmud. Avaye Rava, Rabbeinu Ravashe, Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel listened to like nothing. How come?
Everybody's different.
That's exactly what the Gemara says. Every human being is different. And it says there are certain people that a certain type of wind affects them more. Some of them affects them less. So as the Gemara, how can you say that the wind factor affects the life of the person? Veha'ika haruge malchut. Hold on a minute. There are people that were criminals and they were executed by the government. Now, back then, in the time of the Roman Empire, crucifying people or executing people, it wasn't strange. Today is different. Today is different. Death penalty, some states have it, some states don't have it, and even those that have it, they have it in certain matters or protocols applied. I don't want to talk too much on that topic, but in the time of the Roman Empire, you know, it was every day. That was common. So it says there are people that are died because of a sword. As says the Gemara, Ilav Zika Abrelusama Behaze, if would have not been that the wind penetrated through the wounds of the person, they could have been healed, stitched. God forbid, any disease. That's an attack into the body. Now the body has something called antibodies, right? Remember during the time of COVID, there used to be a test. They tell you the amount of antibodies that you need, that you have, etc. But unfortunately, I'm involved with a case now, and I'm only creating an awareness because I think that we are going to be making an event soon to benefit this individual. I was talking to AJ Gindi from Renewal. He was here Shabbat, he's here now. And we have a case, somebody from South America who has an exorbitant amount of antibodies. An exorbitant.
Wow.
For a kidney that tentatively be accepted by this Yehudi's body. Huh?
You have to change his blood.
You can't.
Yeah, then you can.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know much about that. I only do shidduchim. I get the phone call, I make the phone call, I connect them, I'll do what I need to do personally behind the scenes with them, and they deal with all the medical aspect. But it's unbelievable. You know, a person, we just saying the body has antibodies, but having too much, it's a headache. It's a Hazako Baruch. Excellent answer. Excellent statement, by the way. Not everything in excess is beneficial. Okay? The catch-22. You can drink, let's say, wine or alcohol, etc. Moderation, calm, okay. But if you're going to celebrate Pesach every day of your life, or Purim every day of your life, then you become Naval Birshut HaTorah. What does it mean, Naval Birshut HaTorah? You become a low life under the auspices of the Torah. What does it mean? The Torah says you're allowed to drink wine. And you even bring me a pasuk. Beyayin yesamach levav enosh. Wine brings happiness to the person. Yes, simcha, no holelut. There is a difference. I don't know the exact word in English of the word holelut. Let's say you are happy. You come to the synagogue, you go to your home, Shabbat, holiday, you are happy. But there are people who go to a nightclub and they are also, apparently, they show happiness. But that's not a true level of happiness. And that's called holelut. That is the negative aspect of happiness. It's like money. Money, Shlomo HaMelech writes, Osher Shamur Ra Liv'alav. It says money can be your best friend, your best ally, or your worst enemy. Your worst enemy, why? If you use the money for good, proper, holy, beautiful things, you take care of your family, your kids, etc., it's one thing. But if a person has the blessing of money, and that person uses the money to be wasteful, to do things which are inappropriate, to spend casinos and company, gambling, and all matters which are obviously not conducive to anything holy or healthy, so then the money that a person has is a curse. Because that brings addictions. And addictions brings additional side effects. Okay? Now, jealousy. Is jealousy beneficial or detrimental? We all are going to agree that most of the jealousy is negative action. Yosef and Kin'ah are exactly the same numerical value, 156. That's why you say, Ana mizar'a de Yosef ka'atina, ela shaltabe aina bisha. The Gemara says, I'm a descendant of Yosef, that the evil eye doesn't affect me. That's why you say, Hamsef ya'anek. What's the meaning of that? Break the Kiddush, you look at the Kiddush. What are you supposed to do when you look at the Kiddush? You're supposed to see yourself. That's why you put your hand over. You want to block the light so you're able to reflect your eyes and your forehead. The Ben Ish Hai explains forehead in Hebrew, it's called Mesah. The same numerical value as the word Havdalah. No aslaha, me'ilat. Aslaha, success. Okay. That's the forehead. But then you're supposed to look with your eyes. Why? So the Ben Ish Hai explained in Hebrew, how do you say eye? Ayin. Ayin in Gematria, numerical value of the word eye, Ayin is 130. 5 times Hashem's name, Hamse. Yod Ke Vav Ke times 5 times is 130. The numerical value of your eye. But then you have, Baruch Hashem, a second eye. So 130 to the right, 130 to the left, that's 260. 10 times Hashem's name, Yod Ke Vav Ke. That's what you're supposed to think when you look at the wine. Did you know this?
No.
Okay, welcome to the Safra Synagogue. Okay? I don't know where are you, Brooklyn or in Deal, but these are stuff that we have learned openly. So that's the kavanah. Ayin. Not only that, the Ben Ish Hai thing goes further and it says the ayin on the right is Yaakov Avinu. Ayin Tovah. You keep it open. The eye on the left is Esav. So you close your eye. So the right you keep it open to see good things, and the left, you close it not to see things in a negative way. I can go on, but I think that my overtime exceeded, is more than NFL football. Overtime, or basketball, whatever sports has a lot of overtime. I think they all do for obvious reasons, but we wish everybody to have a Chodesh Tov B'Siman Tov. And once again, we wish a hearty Mazel Tov to Kevin, Eliyahu, and Lital on their upcoming wedding in a few days. And we say Tizkei Mitzvot to the Gersuni brothers and their respective wives for generously sponsoring today's class in honor of the upcoming Simcha. Chodesh Tov B'Siman Tov. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.